In the eastern reaches of Britain dwells a resilient tribe known as the Iceni, their settlements dotting the landscape with sloping villages nestled amidst wind-swept pastures. Their allegiance, unwavering and resolute, is pledged to their king, Prosaedigus, whose rule has weathered the storms of war and adversity. Indeed, conflict has become an ever-present companion to the Iceni, shaping the valor of their warriors and testing the very fabric of their society. Yet, amidst the backdrop of strife and turmoil, a new chapter unfolds as the Iceni find themselves confronted by marching columns and alien banners, heralding the encroachment of an empire that knows no bounds. Some tribes yield without resistance, while others, humbled by the might of foreign forces, bow to the inevitable. Prosaedigus, though aging and weary, recognizes the futility of open defiance against an empire that casts its shadow over vast swathes of the known world. In a bid to secure the future of his kingdom, he proclaims a tenuous alliance with the Romans, declaring that upon his passing his realm shall be governed jointly by his two daughters and the imperial overlords. However, the promise of a peaceful transition of power is shattered by the ruthless grasp of Roman authority. The land of Iceni nobles is seized, and the estates of the deceased king are violated with impunity. His daughters, symbols of Iceni sovereignty, are subjected to unspeakable atrocities, their dignity stripped away in a cruel display of imperial dominance. Among them stands Boudica, the queen of the Iceni, her spirit unbroken despite the agony inflicted upon her. The seeds of resistance are sown amidst the ashes of oppression, as Boudica emerges as a beacon of defiance against Roman tyranny. Her story echoes through the annals of history, a tale of courage and resilience in the face of overwhelming adversity. Yet, her struggle is but one chapter in the larger narrative of Britain's resistance against foreign subjugation. The arrival of Julius Caesar in 55 and 54 BC marked the beginning of Rome's incursion into Britain, with subsequent conquests under Claudius in 43 heralding a new era of imperial domination. To the Romans, the inhabitants of Britain are viewed as primitive savages, their rich cultural heritage dismissed as mere superstition to be supplanted by the purported civilizing influence of Roman rule. But beneath the veneer of Roman superiority lies a complex tapestry of British tribes, each with their own traditions, customs, and aspirations. Boudica understands the intricacies of tribal politics and alliances, forging bonds of solidarity with fellow tribes like the Trinoantes, who share her defiance against Roman encroachment. The motives behind this historic revolt are shrouded in ambiguity, with various factors contributing to the simmering discontent among the Britons under Roman rule. Among these factors are the oppressive burden of Roman overlordship, characterized by heavy taxation and the imposition of stringent laws that favored the Roman elite at the expense of the native populace. Furthermore, mounting grievances stemming from the loss of lives among British citizens, owed to Roman atrocities and unjust policies, served as a catalyst for the uprising. Our understanding of this pivotal moment in history largely stems from the accounts of two ancient authors, Tacitus and Cassius Dio. Tacitus, drawing upon first-hand experiences through his father-in-law Agricola, who served in Britain during the revolts and later became the province's governor, provides a nuanced perspective on the events. Meanwhile, Cassius Dio, although writing centuries later, offers valuable insights gleaned from earlier accounts that have since been lost to time. However, it is important to note that both authors, while providing invaluable narratives, are not immune to the biases and political agendas of their time, often embellishing speeches and depicting the Britons in a manner that aligns with their own perspectives on the Roman Empire. The wrath of Boudica and her rebel army descended upon Camalodunum, a Roman colony marked by its tiled houses and elegant streets. The frenzied onslaught of horns and battle cries engulfed the colony in a maelstrom of pillage and carnage as a town garrison and a poorly prepared Roman relief force found themselves outmatched by the ferocity of the British warriors. Accounts of mutilation and sacrifice, while perhaps embellished, underscore the brutal nature of the conflict, with the town left in ruins and its inhabitants subjected to unspeakable horrors at the hands of the rebels. As news of the revolt spread across the island, panic gripped the Roman authorities, with Governor Suetonius scrambling to mount a defense against the advancing tide of rebellion. The Roman Ninth Legion, marching to relieve the besieged colony, met a decisive defeat at the hands of Boudica's forces, signaling the breaking of Roman rule in Britain. With haste, Suetonius evacuated those willing and able to march, leaving behind the elderly and infirm to face the wrath of the rebels. The rebellion spread like wildfire, engulfing Roman settlements such as Verulamium, where the populace faced a similar fate at the hands of the vengeful Britons. In the wake of the carnage, Dio recounts a staggering death toll, with 80,000 Romans and their allies perishing, marking a humiliating defeat for the empire at the hands of a woman. Suetonius, realizing the gravity of the situation, marshaled his forces at the edge of a deep wood, and behold, the flood of the plain like an unstoppable tide crashing against the shores of Roman dominance. The chanting warriors advanced with a thunderous roar, their shields, spears, and swords beating a rhythmic cadence that echoes across the battlefield. Tens of thousands have gathered under the banner of Queen Boudica, united in their resolve to cast off the yoke of Roman oppression and reclaim their freedom. Behind the tribesmen stand a line of wagons from which their wives, emboldened by the promise of victory, watch with unwavering faith in their cause. Governor Suetonius, a towering figure of Roman authority, strides before his troops, invoking the divine favor bestowed upon the Romans as rulers of the world. He reminds his soldiers of the heinous crimes committed by the rebels, the charred cities, and the slaughtered countrymen, urging them to stand firm in the face of adversity. In her chariot, Queen Boudica, a vision of defiance and determination, addresses her warriors with impassioned fervor. She denounces the cowardice and greed of the Romans, rallying her troops to seek righteous vengeance for their lost freedom and violated honor. With a voice that carries the weight of generations of oppression, she declares her intent to avenge the indignities suffered by her people. As the two armies clash in a frenzied melee, javelins find their marks, chariots splinter, and swords pierce flesh. The Roman wedge formation cracks under the relentless assault of the rebel forces, and the battlefield becomes a scene of carnage and chaos. The rebels fight with a ferocity born of desperation, refusing to yield even as death claims them by the thousands. In the aftermath of the brutal conflict, the fields are strewn with the fallen, the groans of the wounded mingling with the cries of the dying. The Roman troops show no mercy, sparing neither man nor woman as they pursue the fleeing rebels with ruthless determination. Even the baggage animals, once vital to the rebel cause, are mercilessly slaughtered and left to rot alongside their fallen masters. Despite her valiant efforts, Queen Boudica and her surviving rebels are ultimately overwhelmed by the might of the Roman legions. Whether by poison, injury, or disease, the rebel queen meets her end, leaving her people to mourn her loss deeply. With her death, the last flicker of hope for rebellion is extinguished, and the Britons scatter to their homes, resigned to the bitter reality of defeat. In response to the uprising, Emperor Nero enacts brutal reprisals against the inhabitants of Britain, fearing that dissent may once again threaten the stability of the empire. Yet, even as Nero seeks to quash rebellion, a new threat emerges in the form of the Christians, a persecuted sect whose beliefs challenge the authority of Rome. With the ruthlessness characteristic of his reign, Nero unleashes a wave of persecution against the Christians. Seeking to crush dissent and maintain his grip, the atrocities committed by Emperor Nero against the Christians serve as a chilling reminder of the pervasive brutality that characterizes the Roman Empire. Confessed members of this persecuted sect were subjected to unspeakable horrors, from being torn to death by wild beasts to being crucified and burned alive to illuminate Nero's gardens by night. Such acts of barbarism were not isolated incidents but rather a reflection of the empire's ruthless pursuit of subjugation and conquest. With the revolt in Britain quelled and Queen Boudica's rebellion crushed, the Romans waste no time in asserting their dominance once more. They rebuild Londinium into a bustling capital city and expand their presence by constructing new settlements on lands once belonging to the Iceni tribe. Despite the death of Nero, the Roman grip on Britain remains firm, enduring for centuries to come. As time passes, Boudica's memory fades into the mist of history, her legacy becoming a subject of debate and interpretation. Across the centuries, she is depicted in various lights: as a savage butcher, a symbol of ancestral shame; as a patriotic hero exemplifying female fortitude; as an anti-imperialist figure and challenging the oppressive rule of Rome; and even as the martyr godmother of the British Empire itself. Just as in the days of the Romans, Boudica's story is reshaped and embellished in literature, poetry, and drama, reflecting the ever-evolving narratives of power, resistance, and identity.